Welcome into Farming Simulator 25 with me, the Midlife Simster. Thanks for joining me on this Things I Wish I'd Known series. It's not quite version 3 of the custom pastures trick, but it's basically on the same lines. So a lot of people reached out. I've put a preview out as well of my Carmson Let's Play series, where I've done a lot of work on this field behind the cow barn. A lot of people asking how I've done that because it's on console, and it's much, I got to be fair, it's much harder for console players to do these things than it is for PC players. So to give you, just to show you what we've got, obviously we've got the approach here with the gate that is in standard. That's pretty easy. We'll cover it off as we go through though. We've then got the custom pasture trick, which we've you'll have seen now from the other two videos. So you'll see the hidden fence posts littered throughout the field. But then what we've also got then is the long grass versus the meadow grass. But then we've also got our placeables in the field with a bunch of trees, and we have a nice pond. Now then, you'll see here this cow is trying to drown himself. So the issue with what I've done here, and it'll be easier if I now come into the construction menu. Oh, someone said to me the other day about the L1 and hitting the center pad. How I've done several thousand hours on this game. I've never kind of stuck to doing that way. I'll never know. But anyway, the issue I've got here is, and I didn't think it through, and this is a good example of it, and why you should always do this sort of thing on like your testing maps, is once I'd set the pasture and it was in, I now can't edit certain elements of this field. So for example, if I wanted to put down the wooden 2-rail fence here, the area is restricted. There is nothing I can do to put this in here. Yeah, there's no override option with this one. It is just, that's it, you can't do it. So these cows now are just going to treat this as if it's not really water, just walk straight into it and lie down in it and stuff. So for the genuine immersion of the game, it's not quite there. So I wish I'd maybe put the fence around and kind of incorporated it into this little sort of sitting area with my like memorial area for the dog and stuff. But yeah, so just kind of beware it, I guess, when you're kind of getting ready to do this. So a bit confusing, but post edit I had a thought and I need to stop myself here and correct myself. It won't work even if you put a fence around it. They're still going to walk through it. Yeah, so I set the fence up as a test, built the pasture around said fence. It doesn't matter, the collision doesn't exist. The pasture will override the internal fence. It's the same reason that we have the issue with the stone wall that's set, this part of the base map. If you straight line your pasture fence from there, cutting this corner and coming up here, the cows come through the wall. It's exactly the same principle. They're going to come through it. So there's nothing I could have done to have stopped them walking into the water. I will say it again later in the video that, you know, you can build the fence to stop them coming into the water. Ignore it, guys. It's wrong. I'm sorry. I literally had the sort of thought as I was doing the edit and the tidy up to post this, so apologies. Like I say, a couple of people reached out just to say, you know, how have I gone about doing it? What order did I do this in? Like, how do they go and do the same thing? So what we'll do is we'll jump into a completely empty version of Carmson. This took, you know, a lot of work, a good kind of hour and a half, I'd say, of messing around and kind of getting it how exactly I wanted it. So I'll do a bit of a whistle stop tour for you. So I'll see you on the next map in a couple of seconds. Okay, so here we are then, complete base level Carmson. Filming this, by the way, on the 30th of January. So we've had version 1.05, or technically 1.051 as it is now, has come out. Like I say, obviously nothing now is, I haven't added anything to the game. This is exactly as it is when you start up. So for me, there's a few ways you have to kind of go about this and do this, and you're going to need a couple of different mods as well. So if you're going to look to put water in, I know Mr. Seeley P and a few others have put out a video on using the the rice paddy fields, and yeah, so it's a great option, especially for the water buffalo. For me, I'm not as much of a fan of it because you're gonna have to constantly go back in and out to fill up the water. I think once the water's in, it will naturally drain out. You've got to go back in, switch it on and off. For me, I like the idea of doing the kind of ponds and stuff. The mod you're going to need for this, it comes under, if I go through the list on the in others, here it is here. So it's the natural water rivers and ponds pack. It's really good, but it takes a bit of getting used to and a lot of kind of like messing around and practicing. What you'll find is obviously you'll need it to be like a level field. You can't do this kind of like running downhill, or certainly every time I've tried to, just because the way it places it's really difficult. Now I'm sure there are some people, because it does give you loads of options, but I find it quite difficult. And you'll find then when you're doing like this, now this is the 50-meter pond, for example. It's quite hard to see on the grass to start with. You can't even see it now, but what it'll do when it kind of the bleed through in areas where you've got the runoff and the topography is changing. You can see it. I can see it on the screen just to the right now of the 2000. You can see where the bird is going. I'm tracking the bird. If I zoom in, it's kind of just like trying to find that sweet spot. It is there. You can just see it now. About an inch or so away from the I say an inch, it could be anything. If you're looking at your phone, it's not going to be an inch, but anyway, you can see that it basically it'll bleed through based on the kind of slopes that you're dealing with. So the first thing you need to do is basically level off a certain area, and then kind of dig that area back out. So we'll just do a really rough like kind of example of it, and this is how I do it. And then you go into the raise and lower. And then I just lowered the ground a little bit just to kind of get myself like, you don't want to go. I also found that for me, I found the best results are when you don't go like too deep into this part of it, because it gets a bit clunky. The kind of more kind of the deeper the hole seems to be. So at this point now, come back into the level, pick your kind of lowest point that you want to go with, and then just sort of like flatten that area a little bit. Now, the more you play with it, the more you'll be able to get used to it, the more you'll be able to add cooler kind of more realistic shapes. A pond, the base of a pond is not going to be flat like this, is it? So that's something to contend with, and you can play around with it a lot. What you have to do in all this is basically do all your painting work first, think everything through, kind of plan it out. It's the same with the fences, because you got to think about where you're going to put your fence paneling and things. For me, in the example I just showed you, I just found it easier in the end just to put the hedging all the way around. I think it looks quite nice, like aesthetically, and that meant then it gave me a lot more kind of creative freedom to set the fence lines. You can do it, like I say, if you just want to plan and just have little kind of parts of the bushes set out in the right places to avoid those straight lines that I talk about in the video. Then you can do it, and you can kind of kind of plan those out a little bit. I just found it easier just to set the hedges all the way around, and then it just made a little bit more sense. But anyway, back to our pond. So you've created your hole in the ground. Now, before you do any of that, this is now where you need to start doing all your painting and everything, because once you put the water in, it's going to affect that. So you then go into your painting tools, and you would basically then start, if we just pick any old thing, and we'll just pick this sort of rock level here, kind of color that in, and then you can just spend an ages kind of going around the textures, building all that up and everything. You can then look at kind of doing your grass around the edges as well, getting that all set in and going through there. So once you're happy then with the how it all ends up looking, you're going to come back into your others, scroll yourself through the list, and you're going to find then the most suitable water source. Now, I did try and do like kind of flowing rivers and stuff. I couldn't make it work well enough. I think on PC it'd be a lot easier. On console, I just really struggled with it. It just takes a lot of kind of practice. It's a great app. Now, this makes it a lot easier because of the color obviously we've got there. You can see it's going to move across. Now, this is the smallest one we've got. The minute, if I try and show you it, I wonder if I can replicate it now. Again, you can't really see the bleed through there, but The risk always is basically if that water level is higher, sorry, than the ground that it kind of bleeds into, then the water's going to disappear on the grass. So for me, if I'm going downhill like this, so obviously we're uphill here, heading downhill, I take the water to the point where I'm happiest that it's now covering all the elements. Yeah, there's no real change in the water level for me there, and I'm happy with that. Place that, and then if we can, I'll bring the character up because it just makes it a lot easier to check it out, and that's set quite nicely. Again, things to be wary of. The mod will tell you in its instructions when you download it. So there's a good example there. You could just about, yeah, there we are. You could just about see where I've not leveled the land out properly. The water is going to just sit above it, so it creates that little gap there. And now if I try to raise the land now, whilst the water's in, it just goes off its head. It can't handle it, and you've got to get your land right. Now, it's not the end of the world, because you can just come in, go into your remove mode, and there you go, the water's gone. So then we can now re-edit. I don't know why I came out of that then. You can then come into your leveling tool and just level that out a little bit there, just to like do that. Now what I would generally suggest is you bring the edges of this up slightly and then kind of level into them and do that. We just spend a bit of time just smoothing it all out, making it as kind of raised up as you can, so you know then that water level is going to be below, and then put your water in. So again, back into others, we'll just use that first pond because we know it's going to be suitable for the size of the pond that we've planted. Come to the top, like down, working uphill to downhill, come across the floor, try and keep then, if like I say, if you drop to the level, it's going to drop below, isn't it? So you've got to find that little sweet spot where you're still above ground, the water is, and it looks like it's covering everything there. I think we're going to be pretty happy with that. So we'll set that. Let's have a look. Yeah, looking good. Looking good. So that gives you a rough idea. Oh no, it isn't looking good. So, and that's why you can see you've got to play with this and get it right, because all that is now is that water isn't I haven't brought it forward enough, so we may benefit from using the bigger one there. But time is getting on. You can get the kind of basic premise of that. So now if I show you again, if we go into the painting, and I'll just pick let's just pick grass for example. Areas restricted. Can't paint the area that the water is covering. As I come out, yeah, you can see it does, but then I cannot bring that into these thicker areas. The shallower parts, it'll let me. These parts it won't, and that's why I said it's important that you get your kind of textures and everything sorted before you place your water. At that point then, staying down in this bottom one, and we can basically just put some trees in then. Nice and easy, nothing overly complicated about it. The old oaks are, excellent to use for this sort of thing. And again, do a bit of terraforming with the oaks, yeah, raise the land around it. You can change the grass underneath it, but basically put those in beforehand like that, and then we could chuck maybe, I don't know what we got, let's have a little look here for, where's that beach then? Old beach. These are nice. Chuck a few of them in like that, nice and easy, happy days. And again, you've got to get these in because when we put the pasture in, it's going to lock your ground out and there's nothing you can do. So at this point now, I'd probably put my fence in and I'd like fence this area off, just if I wanted to ensure complete realism, to stop the cow who's trying to go for a swim. It depends, doesn't it? I mean, you could do a really shallow pond, I suppose, but again, they are going to lie down and the calves are going to certainly lie down and probably be underwater. So personally, I'd fence off any ponds you do in this area because they are just going to walk straight into them. And then that's basically, once you're happy then with all your editing, put any placeables down as well. I like to generally put a shed into these fields. I find that adds like a nice bit of realism, and because you can then incorporate it into the areas that are going to be included within the pasture, they'll go in this shed, so they'll treat it as an actual object. And again, you can then start doing all your textures, changing your grass and stuff in there, and the mud type, come and bring some plants in. That's the other thing as well, is the shrubbery and things. If we come into plants, but here, get these in beforehand. And it'll then, again, it stops you having any issues then once you've placed that pasture with it saying that the area around it is restricted. You know, loads to choose from. And again, have a test map and just start chucking one of everything down and just make a note of which one of these like shrubs you like the look of, because they're all so different. And they obviously, you can do it in, you know, different sizes and stuff. It depends on the look you're going for. For me, these are too green. I don't particularly like this for the feel of this field. But you might think, yeah, that's wicked. That's what I want. So have a play around, put a bunch of them down, work out what you want to do. It's the more kind of willing you are to take time with this and be a bit OCD about it, the better your result is naturally going to be. So once then you've done all your textures, got your ponding, got your trees in, got the bushes, got anything else you can think that you might want to put in, and you are perfectly happy with that, then it's time to start, and you go basically, we can get to work then on doing our secret pasture. Now, as I said, I've talked about this to death in the 2 videos that I've made previous to this one. Massive shout out as well in relation to this, because stumbled across a video basically talking about exactly the same. The Scottish sim guy, what a top content creator, because just like myself, small channel, you know, trying to make something of it. There are plenty of YouTubers, and generally YouTube is based on this, I get it, that, you know, you just regurgitate other people's ideas that are going viral and you put your own spin on it, and everyone sort of does it. That's fine, I get it. But for me, when you find something that's completely original, and then you don't give credit to that person, I think that's a little bit, it's not my style, put it that way. The Scottish sim guy, he couldn't have been further from that. He was the absolute legend of a guy who, like, mentioned my channel relentlessly, and even when he was suggesting, you know, don't forget to, you know, subscribe, and like even suggested coming onto my channel to subscribe and like what I had done. So mate, thank you. I can't tell you how kind that video was and how much it made me smile. What a legend. And I will return the favor, mate, and stick the in the description there'll be a link into your video that you, because you've taken this idea and pushed it even further then in terms of the kind of pastures and what you can do with the food. So it's great to see the idea sort of rolling on. Anyway, I'm harping on now. Right, where are we? Bit of a bromance going on with the Scottish sim guy. Right, so into the Calmston field hedge. So this is what I was basically talking about. You can try, and now the way I like to do it is get your cursor in the right place, then select it, don't move, and you'll know where it goes. Or the other way of doing it is just basically like this, just chuck it down anywhere, start drawing the bush to the point that you want to get it to, like for example kind of close in there. Just press your circle button, press your X button then to reset the bush from that point, and you're going to get it starting from where you last left it. Basically that's the easiest way of knowing where you're going to work from. So you could basically like kind of do that and do that, and then not set any of the fence, and then you could then set your fence for the custom pasture within that area, within that bush line. So if you know exactly where you're going to place them and you just want little bushes, Billy Boots, that's one way of doing it. You're just going to have to plan it out, and it just takes a lot of kind of precision and thinking, and doesn't leave much room for kind of error, and a little bit of kind of give and take. So anyway, into your standard pasture then, as you've seen before. Yeah, we definitely want to customize it. So we will basically just come down to here, usual trick then, single fence post for there, happy days. We'll just do a nice easy pasture this time. We're not going to waste much time with this. We'll bring it over to there, single fence post for there, all the way over to here for another single fence post. Nice and simple. We'll do a single fence post for there, like so. Bring it around the back of the shed so we can incorporate that. Single fence post for there. And then this is what I was talking about then, is you could, and this is where it gets difficult, and I say, because it's so close to that area, And that's a good example of why I like to basically put the whole hedges in and kind of play with it. And you've got to, like, that's so now going to be difficult to find your way into there. Might be able to find a point that's not restricted. That's so close there. Maybe that would work. Ay. Not great, is it? And that's why, like I say, it takes practice, and you know, that's now we've gone so far. I would have to reset this whole thing and start again. So I should have said that actually right at the start in terms of your saves. Get your save sorted, and then as you get through each bit and you are 100% sure that you are happy with what you've done in that section. So for example, the pond, once you've got your pond perfect and that's what you want, that's when you save. You then start trying, you know, the other bits and bobs. Once you've got them happy, then that's when you save. The point that you put this pasture in, you must be happy with everything else in this field. Because then, like there, if you've set only a couple of the hedges and they're not working for you, it doesn't matter. You could come out the game, reload it. Everything else is still going to be there for you, but the hedges that you'll have placed won't be, yeah? Sorry, the pasture that we just put down won't be there. You can then come in and delete these hedges individually, reset them, save that point, put your pasture back in and start again sort of on lining these little individual panels up. We'll put a single in by there and then just bring it back in. Now then, important point here. Do you want to plant meadow for the cow pasture? No. The reason we say no, and the reason I started saying no, is because if you said yes, it basically removes all of your paint textures and then you can't do anything. It becomes an absolute nightmare. And if I come into here, you'll see now I can't plant the trees because the area is restricted. Can we do any of the additional painting here? Yep, can't do any painting on this area now. Area is restricted. So that's why you do it in that order, to get everything sorted that way around. And then if we come back into the construction menu, then back into our usual trick, into demolition mode. Find the big blocks of the panels, so that'll be a single there. You can see it by that. Get rid of this one, come up here, we know we've got a single on the corner there, so next one along, take all of those out. Come across the top, single one sticking out by there, so leave him, come down there, or her. Single by there in the middle, so we don't get that horrible kind of cross in the brick wall where the cows can then turn up onto the road, or just stick their heads through a wall. Round the back of the new barn, you got the single by there. Delete the row. Up to here, we've got the... Oh, that's the other thing as well. You can only delete it from the front side, if you imagine from the outside of the field rather than the inside of the pasture. Delete this lot here. We've got that little single one then hidden in the bush because you can just about see it flashing by there. Come around to here. Delete these ones out here. Single on the corner by there. Come up to this row. Happy days. Out we come. Run over to our pen. And like I said, because I haven't put the fence in around this now, our cows are going to start rolling around in the water. Come over to our cows. 54 cows we can put into the pasture that we just created. Fine, thanks very much. Let's chuck them in then. Bunch of cows, thank you very much. Out of interest, let's see where they're holding in the lines. So, as you can see, this guy, there's your post there for that line. He's linking up to this one, so you're going to keep him in there. This cow should not cross this line. I haven't had much luck when I say those sort of things, but that should not cross that line. And then they're going to come down then to the next post. But as you can see, I wonder if there we are. Perfect. So if you imagine now, if we'd have put like what we wanted to, if we'd have done all the texturing and stuff, you can really make it look like a proper nice kind of shed for them with the ground textures that are available to you. Over here, there we are. Cow having a bath, because why not? Yep, cow trying to drown themselves. Oh dear. So I'll what we'll do is we will save this game. I will come out this completely, close the game completely, reload everything, come back in and show you. Okay, so here we are back in the game. As you can see, as proven time and time again, trick works with the fencing. everything as we left it. Cow chilling out within the waterhole. Oh dear, dear. As I say, this is obviously a really, really rough guide to how to do this. This isn't, you know, if you're putting this together, then you're probably going to think, dear me, this is made by a child. But the whole point of this is just to show you guys how to sort of start considering these things to kind of get your creativity going, because this part of the game is brilliant, and that kind of customization that you can go to is epic. And if I jump across to my Calmsden map, 2 seconds. So this is my Calmsden map that I'm using for my Let's Play, because what happened on my Let's Play was exactly what led to all of this basically being a thing. I deleted the entire animal pasture without realizing what would happen, lost all the animals visually, and then went down the rabbit hole trying to fix it, and stumbled across my little trick for the pastures, which has then led to me redesigning my Calmsden map, because I was only 3 episodes in, so it's going to take a bit of work, but I can do it. So bringing the fences up, bringing in putting a the fence along this line. This actually was I think this was the farm sim. I'll have to quickly check that. I will put it in the comments and description if I can't very quickly. Rough edit, hopefully it won't show up too obviously. Farmer sim. I got the inspiration for this because I like the idea of basically keeping you from cheating and just going straight into the field from here and actually going up to the top end there to enter it. But yeah, the reason I wanted to pop up here is just to show you, when you take a bit of time, even on console, you can do some quite nice things. And it is a bit rough, I get that. It's not perfect, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But just something that's a bit different just kind of breaks the map up, being able to put this water feature in. And then the additional kind of placeables around it. Yeah, just a nice little kind of thing to do. Obviously the pen you've already seen over here. Different to the cows you've seen. I've got a bunch of babies in there with the in the main game. And then final word of warning for you. This is the one I struggled with the most. I put this bush definitely too close to the wall for this sheep pasture, which has then meant that some of the panels are sticking through. This I might delete completely and start again, but when you delete this pasture it becomes really messy on the console because it still thinks there's something there, and there are ways around it by all accounts, but it's a bit buggy. So I don't know, I might just live with it for now, and it can just sit there as my proof that, you know, it's nice to leave your mistakes in because it helps other people learn, doesn't it? So the sheep pasture is awful as well. There was that orange fence, like, you know, come on, what's the need of that? Why are the fences different? But there, hey ho. I mean, I still like the look of it. It's in a much simpler field. Again, it's just the trees. This is what I was talking about earlier as well. The only thing you can, I don't think, can I? Let me do a quick test whilst we're doing it, actually. Can we? No, it lets me on the sheep pasture. Does it let me on the cow pasture? Oh, I can. You can do some ground definition on that, but it's the water. It's not going to let me do it. Anyway, we're not going to go diving down that rabbit hole now. I've got to make sure I don't save it and leave those horrible marks in the middle of my fields now. But anyway, it gives you an idea of the things you can start kind of considering for yourselves. Little ideas just to get your creative side going. And again, you know, I'm not very good at this sort of stuff. Just kind of chucking a few bits and bobs in, but just breaks it up a little bit, makes it look a little bit more realistic for that immersion element. So there you have it. I hope you found this video useful, entertaining, giving you some kind of food for thought. Maybe you got your creative side kicked into gear and you're going to go and start playing around with this now and see what you can do. Again, I will be very, very clear, this is completely aimed at console players. I can only sit back in awe at the stuff that you guys on PC can sort out compared to us, with all the kind of code changes and the Giants editor that you get to use. So yeah, this isn't in any way, shape or form like aimed at PC really. This is purely for console. Obviously the pasture issue is something completely different, but and again, if I can ask you, go and check out Scottish Sim Guy, top bloke. Can't thank him enough for his willingness to take someone else's idea, take it forward, but also to come back to that original content creator to say thank you and, you know, and link him in. So yeah, top guy. Go and check out his channel, give him a sub. Legend of a guy. And I think we'll call it a day there. So until next time, be happy, stay safe, and we will speak again soon. Take care.